Welcome to this introduction to TOPDOC NexGen. Let's go ahead and load the program, and it's going to ask for a user login. We'll just be the default with no password. And the first thing that opens is our blog. This is information about any updates to TOPDOC NexGen that might be available, as well as company information. If you're not on the internet, this will just show up as a blank, and let's just say OK when we're done reading. Now we're at the main menu. And the main menu has two options that you'll use primarily. PLC has anything to do when you're connected to the SoftPLC, your online programming, configuration, upload, download, etc. The app option is for offline editing, and that's what this video will concentrate on. The PLC remote editor and the offline app editor are pretty much identical. The difference is where the logic resides, whether it's on your hard drive or if it's in the PLC. So when we click on app, we get a list of the applications we've already created. And what I want to show you now is if I go to Windows Explorer and then I go to where SoftPLC is installed, TOPDOC NexGen is installed, there's an app folder. And you'll notice that the entries in the app folder and the local apps listed here are the same. So what the TOPDOC NexGen is doing here is just providing a directory list of this folder. And if you go into any one of these, you'll see that there's a file called softplc.app. Let's go into another one here. So all of the SoftPLC programs are called softplc.app, and that one file includes everything. It's going to be your logic, your documentation, and some other information. So what's important is where they're located. Where they're located gives it a unique name. And within TOPDOC NexGen, you're going to be working with that unique name. So what we're going to use is a program called Example. And we're going to edit it locally. So we'll say edit locally, and now we're into the actual editor. So the editor has three panels. There's a ladder panel, there's a data table panel, and what we call a descriptor panel for the documentation. Every panel can be resized. There's these dotted lines, and you can drag them up and down, left and right, to change the size of the panels. You also can minimize any panel with these arrows so that you can see just the portion of the information you're interested in. And at the bottom of the screen there is a main menu, which is global. So the main menu has the modes option, which is going to be how to change the mode of operation of the PLC, much like a key switch would be. You have an access to the help file with this icon here. So let's click on that, which opens a new window. And in the help file, pretty standard, you can see the topics, expand any topic down, you can search for information. This particular message tells you how the addressing works, which is the same as in Allen Bradley PLC. Or the other thing I wanted to show you in here is if I go to the ladder editor instruction reference, all of the documentation on every instruction is available. How it works, how you address it, status information, that sort of thing. So the help file is always available, not only from the main menu, but from other pop-up windows within the editors. And then the last icon here is the save. This allows you to save the softplc.app to your hard drive in the folder corresponding to the name of the app. Every panel has some similar icons. There's the zoom in and out to make the text bigger. So we'll go ahead and do that for purposes of the video. We'll increase the size here. There's also what's called a Navigator. This little compass is how you move around that particular part of the screen. And if you'll notice right now, there's a shading on this ladder editor panel. That means that's where the keyboard focus is. So every icon has hotkeys for those of you that like keyboards. So here, if I hold this, the tooltip says it's Alt-N. If I hold it here, you'll see it's also Alt-N. So when I press Alt-N, wherever the keyboard focus is what editor that keystroke will have effect on. Also want to mention while I'm up here, the rung number that the cursor is on is displayed here. This is the cursor. You can see now I'm on P2/1, which is program file 2, rung number 1. Within the editors, I have a number of ways to move what I'm looking at. I can scroll with these arrow keys. I can pull the scroll bar down and up. And specifically in the ladder editor with these gold arrow keys, I can scroll between subroutines. So you can see now I'm in program file 3, program file 4. The other thing I can do in the ladder editor is if I'm not editing, I just want to look at logic, I can turn these instruction menus off. These are the permissive instructions, and these are the output instructions. I can turn those on and off with these icons here to see more of the logic. So I'm going to turn those back on. All right, now let's talk about the ladder navigator. So we'll go into here, and it has a number of tabs with different functions. So the first thing we're going to look at is the file manager. And the file manager is an overview of the logic in terms of subroutines. So it's going to list all the subroutines. You can give each one a short name, and you can also give a longer comment associated with them. And again, this is all stored in the app. From here, I can jump to any subroutine. I can modify the comments. I can add subroutines, or I can remove subroutines. Another breakdown within the subroutines we have is what we call sections. And in the section tab, you can see I can expand the subroutine title down to separate areas and go to that part of the code. Now the way that you create these is you select the comment editor and click on this use as section marker button, and that will take the first line of the run comment and make it the section marker. So if I go back to the Navigator, you can see the text that was in that comment. Okay. The other thing you can do within the Navigator is called bookmarks. And you can create bookmarks which are different rung numbers. So I can add from cursor here, and then I can go to another rung. Let's see, let's go add one more. And then I can quickly bounce between those using the go to command. I can also go to any specific rung number by typing in the rung number. The other thing in the Navigator was the search function, which is very useful. And I can search for an instruction. I can search for a address. Let's see, C5:1 was not found. How about any counter with a wildcard? All right. Or I can search for a instruction address combination. I0/*. Okay. There's also a find all function where if I'm using a direct address, let's say 0, and I do find all, you'll see that that address is used in 2 rungs with an XIC. If I look for just that address, it's used in 3 rungs with different instructions. I can also use the find all with wildcards, so I could look for all the done bits in all the timers, and obviously there's a lot of those, and then I can go to any one. Now let's look at the actual ladder editing. So we can add a rung using add below or add above icons. So let's add one below here. And then we can put some instructions on it. So we'll put in a contact here. We'll put in B3/0. We get a screwdriver. We put that contact on the rung. And then let's add another one. If you want to program by tag names, you can do that if you've got them set up. And then we need an output on this rung. And once you've got that, you can save the edits. If I want to add a branch, there's a branch tool here. I hold the left mouse button down and it's going to show me, you'll see the squares to the right of all the legal places where the branch end can go. And then I just drag and let go when I'm ready to set the branch in place. And then I can add an instruction or instructions on that branch. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got flyout menus for the other instructions. So let's use a greater than or equal. And 14. And then save the rung. If I want to delete an instruction, I highlight it by dragging over it till I get this dark purple color, and then I can either use the delete icon at the top, I can hit the delete key, or I can use the right click to bring up the quick menu and delete it that way. I can also do that with multiple instructions. I can select a segment of a rung like this and delete, and I'm going to get rid of all that and go back where I was. Or if I want to delete the entire rung, I just highlight from to the left of the power bar and then I can delete the entire rung. If I highlight and I want to get rid of it, I just press escape. If I want to select some instructions like this, I can copy them and then I can paste anywhere in the program. Any group of rungs, group of logic, so multiple rungs, etc. That's it for the ladder editor. Want to move on to the data table editor. So let's expand this a little bit. Again, there's a navigator and it's going to show the structure of the data table. So the file manager has the data table files and the size of them, and you can have a description of the file, which is a tag, and you can also put in a long comment. And I can jump to any file from the file manager. Now each data type has a set of formats that are available. So as you can see, I'm looking at a counter and I have a cumulative, a preset, and a control word. If I go back and I look at the timer, I have the same, but I also am displaying the enable, done, and timer timing bits so that you can quickly access those for editing. For example, if I want to change that status, I can do that. Let me go to a integer here. So you can think of each one of these values as a set of rows in a spreadsheet. So the default for an integer, for example, is a decimal display. If I use this icon to scroll down a row within this little spreadsheet, now I see the binary value and then the hex. And if I keep scrolling, I can see the individual bits. These two icons will go to the top and the bottom rows within that little table. And at any point I can edit and if I want to stop editing, I can press somewhere else or hit escape. I want to show you here, a PID element is a little bit different. The PID has a block of words associated with each element, and I'm going to go ahead. This toggle here turns the documentation on and off, so I'm going to say no tag or descriptor, and now I can see more data. But even so, I'm still not seeing all the rows. So if I keep scrolling, you can see now I can see my tuning constants and some of the other information in the PID block. All right. String is unique also. You can put in up to 80 characters of text. We'll go back to, and floating point obviously is a float value. When I am changing the rows, for example here, when I go down to the bits within the input table, you'll see that every word is on the same bit number, bit 0, bit 0, bit 0. But what if I want to see bit 2 of this word and bit 10 of another word? Well, then we have what are called watch windows, and that's in this watch tab. And you can have any data table addresses in any order that you like, and these are stored in the app. So you can create these watch lists, and you can edit them just like any other value. While I'm here, I wanted to show you, in addition to typing in values, you can use these arrow keys to scroll if the value you want is nearby. And if I go to the Navigator, you'll see I have 3 different watch lists set up for this program. So you don't have any limit as to how many of those you can have, and once you set them up, they're permanently in the app. And again, if there's any tags associated with those, they will show up down here. I also can do what is called title as tag, and this will change to tag names instead of addresses if the tags have been set up previously. Go back to the regular display. And the last thing we want to look at here is the Descriptor Editor. So you have the address, the tag name, and a description, and that's what's displayed up here in the ladder. If I right click, I can go to that descriptor if I want to edit it. If I have, for example, here is a tag but there's no description, I can type in new text, and in order to get that to show up, I just need to save it, and now you can see that it shows up here. All of this descriptor text you can create in a spreadsheet and just paste it in, or you can do them individually as we're showing here. And that's kind of the quick tour of the TOPDOC NexGen editor. If you have any questions, you can always call us, and the help file is always there for you to refer to.